Speaking of stop, yeah, this is a stretch, but
Are we talking about a stop sign and
no.
cars?
Yes, Cars. As
Whoa!
in Death Proof.
Death Proof? Whoa!
I think is actually his most underrated.
I just...
Did I break you a little bit?
Dude, not really, but I'm just kind of just saying to myself, well, how would we bring it into Death Proof? Stop?
Yeah.
Okay. Underrated, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Kurt Russell in there, his dialogue, so well written, and people did not give enough credit because it was made as a grindhouse production.
It was a movie that I think it's his most experimental. It was when Robert Rodriguez and him came up with this idea, they had a great amount of respect for the grindhouse cinema. I don't think it's a great piece. Like, I'm not going to just say to myself when I'm just, like, I'm crying at night, and I just woke up from a nightmare, it's like, Liam, what is it? Oh, I just dreamt that the grindhouse was being destroyed in the cinema history. I'm just like, I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, this is where the respect of genres come in. Like, even one thing we haven't even talked about is costumes, like with whole Uma Thurman's jumpsuit. That's straight up from I forget what the movie is, but it's
he just takes iconic suits, iconic costumes from people, and puts them on his characters.
It makes them even more.
Yeah.
That's the best sense of homaging, I think. Yeah. It's not copying. It's such a great...
Yeah, it's just...
And Death Proof, I think, is so good because it's kind of like... It opens up like that movie, like even the title that's kind of coming up first, like a lightning rod or something. Yeah. And then Death Proof comes on. It's like, what? It's a movie that keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
And
what I really liked about it was, like how Jackie Brown started off with the half hour of build-up for Ordell's operation. It starts off with... I forget...
it's basically half the movie.
Yeah, it's basically half the movie, how he sets up targets and then kills them.
Yeah. And I actually like... This is actually, for a while, I kind of talked myself into making this my favorite. One of my favorites, because...
But you can.
This movie opens up so well, but not just that, it has some really good exchange from some very stereotypical characters that you expect in a slasher film, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Then they go to a bar and they talk and everything. And even Tarantino has said this isn't his best film. I actually think this is a really good film. I think he underrates this because there's something really good about this. Because at one point, it's just like a regular slasher film. Yeah. And he makes Kurt Russell in that film an amazing villain and horrifying character. And the whole build-up again with the whole like, I wasn't lying, honey. This car is 100% death-proof. Only get the benefit of it, honey. You really gotta be sitting in my seat. That just pure loathing of these kinds of people in his eyes and his voice. So
it's
great. And the music again, like that whole like dance sequence, like the lap dance scene. I actually find that's one of my favorite songs, and it comes on in my work. There's blues music, and I'm like, oh yes, let's bring it home with this.
Only part of the movie I did not like was how none of the second cast of females died. I did not find that realistic enough for a Tarantino movie.
But you know what I like about that, and where I actually think that's a good thing.
It feels like a B movie. It feels grindhouse.
Yeah, but what I actually like about that more is these are characters that establish themselves as being a lot better than those girls.
Yeah.
And, like Zoe Bell, who's actually the stunt double for Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. Like she's the New Zealand.
That I did not know.
Yeah, and then he taught her actually how to act a little bit and not just be a stunt person. And she has so much respect for him for that. But she's actually in a lot of his movies. Like she's in Death Proof.
Well, he does that a lot.
And that's why the reason I think she has her is because they actually did those stunts on the car.
Yeah.
And that's impressive. Like that is just for how much they actually did in that movie. Yeah. So much work is put into this, and
that's
it's definitely
what my respect for Bond movies is because they don't like CGI.
Well, in the past they didn't
do now
as much.
But
well, not now. It's like remember what's the guy's name? Brosnan. His last movie was awful. Yeah. Anyway, but we don't
traditional
talk.
Bond. Yeah.
But no, but it seems like this whole when something I don't like cars that much. I'm not a huge car person, but when someone has such much like dedication, like in like a Fury Road or any of the Mad Max movies,
building their own
vehicles when they will like put so much dedication into something that is so real and into something that's so powerful, It's terrifying, and it's really impressive.
That's what was great about Death Proof.
And I don't mind the fact that they don't die, because I actually love the scene. My problem is just kind of how it ends with the whole grindhouse, like, pausing and breaking. I get kind of that, but it seemed like the second half was kind of stepping away from that grindhouse style, with a few exceptions.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, they had the break of the film when he's driving to chase them. It's like, oh no, is this kind of the same thing that happened before? But it kind of felt like it didn't need to be there. I'm so happy. Like, how they kick his ass is so satisfying for them. But it's just one of those things where it just kind of ends afterwards. And just kind of like, it could have been a little bit.
Yeah. And this is, my dad and I usually agree, but this is the one time when we don't. Because he didn't see Kurt Russell's character being a coward like that. Mm-hmm. Right? And I instantly thought of the villain from Dirty Harry. Yeah. And just how as soon as he got stuck with the knife, he freaked out, and then he fell down the whole hill. Yeah, and how he just fell down the whole hill, and just... So I think that was realistic in how he freaked out and did let... essentially, he let the women beat him up.
Plus, think about how he kills people. He kills them with a supercar. Yeah. And he doesn't, like, even, like, get his hands dirty. He's a coward. And even when they're chasing him, he's like, oh, you know what? Just leave me alone. Like, he's like, so long, ladies, and he gets shot. I think he deserves to die like a wuss, because he is not a good person. I don't care if a good person goes out like or a bad person goes out like a wuss. They deserved it if they were that bad. It's kind of like, I'm not going to make the shift yet, but in Glorious Bastards, how that ends. Yeah. I like how he's screaming in the end. It's like, that's the one satisfaction. He's feeling pain. Yeah. But the last thing I do want to say about this, it's not a movie that I can really say too much about. Like,
it's just one of his shorter ones.
It's one of his shortest ones, yeah. But there's a lot that you can say about the style if you knew Grindhouse. I don't. But what I do love about this movie is, with what you said, the establishment of the first half. Yeah. And then when the girls are the ladies are having their conversation about cars and about finding that car that they were looking for in the bar, and it's doing that circle, and you see Noah pointed this out to me. He's in the background. I'm like, oh, but then he leaves, I think. Yeah, he does. Before they get into that really conversation. So I think he misses some of their whole car spiel about how they're so into that. So it's kind of like one of those moments where it's like, ooh, he doesn't know. No. And so that kind of sets him up for a little bit of a... But that's such a cool... Again, focusing on the background.
Well, he's creepy.
Yeah. Now, this is something we haven't talked about. I do want to bring it up. Yeah. Is the Tarantino cameos, just quickly. What do you think about the Tarantino's cameos thus far in terms of the films? Like, I think he's in Reservoir Dogs. We talked about that. Pulp Fiction.
Loved it.
Great. Yeah. Just great. I don't think he was in Jackie Brown. He wasn't in Kill Bill, to my knowledge. No. And then this one, and he's like the bartender, and he's like, "Is that a tasty beverage or is that a tasty beverage?" I like how he says beverage too in the script. Yeah. But the reason I just bring it up is because in a few films here, I definitely want to talk about this. Yeah. But if I'm being honest about Death Proof, it is not his best. But it should definitely be acknowledged more
credit.
And at least appreciate. Like, people should appreciate this.
It is his most underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think just as a film itself, there's a lot of... I mean, you could say it's style over substance, but it's the Grindhouse. Yeah. And apparently, all I know about the Grindhouse is that it was style over substance. Yeah. And I don't mind that in this film.
And you're not supposed to.